People died mysteriously in the village, and after burial, all of them appeared on Mama Ayo's farm planting yams. In the village of Ogbomosho, everyone knew Mama Ayo's farm. How could they not? It was the biggest farm anyone had ever seen. It stretched so far that when you stood at one end, the other side disappeared into the horizon. Her yam barn was the size of 3 houses. Her crops were always perfect, tall, healthy, and abundant. People visited the farm all the time. Neighbors would walk through, admiring the neat rows of yams and cassava. Traders would come to inspect the crops before buying. Children would run through the fields playing games. The farm was famous throughout Ogbomosho and beyond, but nobody ever saw any workers.
Mama Ayo, who helps you on this farm? I work hard. I wake up early and sleep late. That's the secret.
People would look at her soft hands that had never had a hole for too long. Hands with no calluses, no dirt under the fingernails. They would wonder, but nobody questioned too much. After all, Mama Ayo was rich. What they didn't know was that the farm was full of workers, hundreds of them working day and night, planting, weeding, harvesting. They never stopped, they never rested, they never complained. But the workers were invisible. Well, not invincible exactly. They were ghosts, and only Mama Ayo could see them. Every morning, Mama Ayo would go into the small hut at the eastern corner of the farm and lock the door. She would take out a small clay pot hidden inside, a pot that contained special water. She would pour a little water into her palms and wash her face with it, reciting the words Awuru had taught her.
Eyes that see the living, see the dead. Eyes that see the day, see the night. Open.
And her eyes would open to the spirit world. When she arrived at the farm, she would see them all, grey figures walking in the fields, their skin like ash, their eyes empty like wells, their movements stiff and mechanical, her ghost slaves. But to everyone else who visited the farm, the fields looked empty, just crops growing on their own, as if by magic. But it wasn't always like this. 15 years ago, Mama Ayo and her husband were the poorest farmers in Ogbomosho, so poor that rats would enter Mama Ayo's kitchen and leave disappointed, so poor that their children, Ayo and Kemi, wore rags that even beggars would reject, so poor that when she walked through the market, other women would whisper and laugh. One night, after watching her children cry from hunger, Mama Ayo made a decision. She wrapped her only good clothes around her waist and walked into the forest where the native doctor lived. Our hut was deep in the darkness, where even moonlight feared to go.
I want to be rich. I don't care what it costs.
The oracle has spoken.
You want a farm that works itself? You want wealth that never stops? Then you need workers who never sleep, never complain, never ask for payment.
Where will I find such workers?
You will make them yourself. Listen carefully. Every person you want to work for you, you will call their spirit name at midnight. Their head will answer. By morning, they will be dead. Snake bite, sickness, accident, it doesn't matter how. After their family buries them, their spirit will rise and come to your farm to work for you forever.
But won't people see them?
The dead exist in a different realm. No one can see them unless they have spiritual eyes. I will give you special water. Every morning, wash your face with it and you will see your workers. Without the water, even you won't see them. And no one else will ever know your secret. One more thing, your husband will ask too many questions. Use this on him. Bury it under his sleeping mat. It will lock his mind. He will become your servant, doing whatever you command without question.
He handed her a small calabash filled with black powder for calling the spirits, and a clay pot filled with special water for seeing them. Mama Ayo took everything and went home. That night, while her husband slept, she buried the black stone under his mat. By morning, Baba Ayo woke up different. His eyes looked glazed, unfocused, like he was seeing the world through dirty water.
Baba Ayo, wash my underwear.
Yes, Mama Ayo.
Baba Ayo, go cook.
Yes, Mama Ayo.
He never asked why. He never refused. The spell had worked. The first person Mama Ayo killed was her cousin, Biodun. At exactly midnight, Mama Ayo went outside with a calabash of black powder. She burned it and whispered, Biodun, child of Aduke, born under the full moon. I call your head. I call your head. I call your head. Far away, Biodun woke up suddenly, feeling invisible hands pulling at her chest. She tried to scream but couldn't. Then she collapsed. By morning, Biodun's family found her dead, a snake bite on her ankle, black and swollen. The whole village mourned. They buried her with songs and tears. 3 days after the burial, Mama Ayo washed her face with a special water on getting to her small farm hut. She brought a big pot of food that Baba Ayo had cooked. Mama Ayo set down the pot and waited. The soil began to move. Biodun rose from the earth, but she wasn't human anymore. Her skin was grey like old ash. Her eyes were empty. She didn't speak. She just picked up a hoe and began to walk. She walked without stopping, without sweating, without breathing, because she was dead, because she was a ghost slave. Mama Ayo's farm began to grow. Over the next 15 years, Mama Ayo killed hundreds of people. One by one, she called their spirit names at midnight. One by one, they died mysterious deaths. One by one, after burial, they rose to work her farm. Every morning, Baba Ayo, his mind locked by the spell, would cook 3 giant pots of food, enough to feed 100 people and more. Then he would wash Mama Ayo's underwear, scrub her feet, wash all the plates, clean the entire compound, while their 2 daughters, Ayo and Kemi, never lifted a finger, never cooked, never cleaned, just watched their father work like a slave. Mama Ayo has trained her husband so well, the village women would say, not knowing he was under a spell. Every morning, Mama Ayo would carry the 3 pots of food to the farm. She would feed the ghosts, watching them eat with their grey faces and empty eyes. Then they would return to work, planting, harvesting, weeding, clearing. The farm grew bigger and bigger. People would visit, walking through the endless rows of perfect crops, marveling at their abundance. Mama Ayo forbade anyone from entering the small hut at the eastern corner of her farm. The hut was where she kept the clay pot of special water. It was her most precious secret. Kemi, now 16 years old, had always been suspicious, unlike her sister Ayo, who enjoyed their wealth without questions. Kemi noticed everything, the way her father's eyes were always empty, the way her mother carried massive amounts of food to a farm that supposedly had no workers, the way people kept dying in the village, mysterious snake bites, sudden sicknesses, strange accidents, and that locked hut that nobody was allowed to enter. One morning, Kemi decided to follow her mother. She watched as her mother loaded the 3 giant pots onto her head and left for the farm. Then Kemi followed, staying far behind, hiding behind trees. When they reached the farm, Mama Ayo went straight to the small hut. Kemi crept closer, crouching behind a bush near the hut's window. The window was small and high, but Kemi could peek through a crack in the wooden boards. She watched as her mother took out a clay pot, watched as she poured water into her hands, watched as she washed her face, muttering strange words.
Eyes that see the living see the dead. Eyes that see the day see the night. Open.
Shout out time. Hey lovelies, today's big shout out goes to Victoria from Nigeria, Amara Ahmed from Lagos, Temiloluwa from Nigeria, Hawa from Ghana, Portia from East London, and Eve from Uganda. I see you, I appreciate you 100%. If you want a shout out in my next video, drop your nickname and location in the comments, most especially YouTube comments. Lots of love from me to you all. Mwah. Then Mama Ayo left the hut, carefully hiding the clay pot in a corner before locking the door. Kemi waited until her mother walked deeper into the farm, carrying the food pots. Then Kemi ran to the hut. Her heart was pounding. The door was locked, but the hut was old. One of the wooden boards at the back was loose. Kemi pulled it aside and squeezed through. Inside, she found the clay pot. It looked ordinary, just a small clay pot with water inside. But something about it felt wrong. The water was too still, too dark, like it contained more than just water. Kemi heard her mother's voice in the distance, talking to someone. But who? The farm was supposed to be empty. Kemi made a decision. She poured some water into her shaking hands and washed her face, whispering the words she had heard her mother say.
Eyes that see the living, see the dead. Eyes that see the day, see the night. Open.
At first, nothing happened. Then the world shifted. Kemi stumbled out of the hut and looked at the farm, and her blood turned to ice. The farm was full of people, grey people, dozens of them, walking in the fields with jerky mechanical movements. And Kemi recognized them. Uncle Tunde, her father's brother, who had died 3 years ago from a mysterious sickness, there he was, planting yams. Biodun, Mama Ayo's cousin, who had died from a snake bite 10 years ago, there she was, harvesting cassava. Over 100 goats, all the people who had died mysteriously over the past 15 years, all of them working in Mama Ayo's farm. And there was Mama Ayo, moving among them, setting down bowls of food, speaking to them like a master to slaves.
Work well today. We have a big harvest coming.
The ghosts nodded with their empty faces and continued walking. Kemi's hand flew to her mouth to stop the scream. She stumbled backward, turned and ran. She ran all the way back to the village, her lungs burning, her mind screaming. She burst into the village square, gasping for air.
Help! Somebody help me!
Kemi, what's wrong?
My mother, Kemi could barely breathe. My mother is killing people.
There are ghosts, dead people walking in her farm.
Kemi, calm down. What are you talking about? We all know your mother's farm. There's no one there.
That's because you can't see them. She has special water. She used it to see the ghosts. I used it too. I saw them. All the people who died, they're not resting. They're slaves in my mother's farm.
Kemi, that's impossible.
Please, you have to believe me. Come to the farm. I'll show you and you'll see everything.
Show us.
20 villagers followed Kemi back to the farm, including people who had lost family members to mysterious deaths over the years. When they arrived, they looked around at the vast, beautiful farm with its perfect crops growing in neat rows, and they saw nothing. No workers, no ghosts, just empty fields. There is nothing here, Kemi, someone said. Wait. Kemi ran to the small hut and emerged with the clay pot. Use this water, she said. Wash your faces with it and say these words. Eyes that see the living, see the dead. Eyes that see the day, see the night. Open. The village chief went first. He poured water into his hands, washed his face and spoke the words. His face went white. Oh God, he whispered. Oh God, no. What do you see, chief? Someone asked. My nephew, the chief said, his voice breaking. Tunde, he's right there, planting yams. One by one, the villagers washed their faces with the water. One by one, they saw the ghosts. A woman screamed, My son, that's my son. We buried him last year. The farm erupted in screams and wails as people recognized their dead relatives toiling as ghost slaves. Then Mama Ayo appeared, carrying empty pots. When she saw the crowd, when she saw them all staring at her ghost with horror-filled eyes, she froze. Then the village chief stepped forward, his face twisted with rage and grief. Mama Ayo, what have you done? Mama Ayo dropped her pots. They clattered on the ground. I can explain. Explain? A woman's voice shook with fury. Explain how my son, who died 2 years ago, is standing right there as your slave? At that moment, back at the compound, something cracked. The black stone buried under Baba Ayo's sleeping mat, the one that had held his mind in chains for 15 years, suddenly split in two. Baba Ayo was stirring a pot when his mind suddenly cleared. It was like waking up from his 15-year nightmare. Memories flooded back. All the years of slavery, all the times he had wanted to scream, to run, to fight, but couldn't because his mind was locked in a cage. What happened to me? He whispered, looking at his worn hands. He dropped the spoon and ran toward the farm, following the sound of shouting. At the farm, Mama Ayo had fallen to her knees, surrounded by angry villagers. How many? The chief demanded.
How many
people did you kill?
I lost
count.
Too
Mama
many
Ayo
people.
whispered, tears streaming down her face. Too many people. The crowd gasped. I was trapped. Once I started, I couldn't stop. I had to feed them every day or they would kill me.
You killed my son for yams? You killed him so you could sell crops?
You killed my brother, my wife, my father.
The crowd surged forward. At that moment, Baba Ayo arrived. His mind was clear now. He saw everything. The farm, the grey figures.
You did this to me. For 15 years, you locked my mind, made me wash your underwear, made me cook for ghosts. I couldn't even think for myself.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
Then she began to scream. Not a normal scream. A scream that came from the deepest part of her soul, where 15 years of murder and guilt lived. She clutched her head and screamed and screamed. Her mind was breaking. The weight of the murders, she fell on the ground, laughing and crying at the same time, talking to people who weren't there.
Children, I'm sorry. Uncle Tunde, forgive me. Seku, don't look at me like that.
She had gone mad. At that exact moment, the ghosts stopped walking. They all turned to face the crowd of living people who could finally see them. And one by one, they began to fade. Like morning mist burned away by the sun, they disappeared, finally released from their slavery. As the last ghost vanished, the ground began to shake. People ran from the farm as a terrible rumbling filled the air. The storage shed where Mama Ayo kept all her harvested crops began to smoke. Then cold flames erupted, spirit flames that burned without heat. Within minutes, the entire storage was gone. Every yam, every bag of corn, every bundle of cassava turned to grey ash and blew away in the wind. Then the flames spread to the farm itself. The yams in the ground shriveled and turned black. The cassava rotted instantly. The corn collapsed into dust. The rich soil turned grey and dead. 15 years of cursed wealth disappeared in 15 minutes. When the flames stopped, nothing remained but ash and a woman who had lost her mind. The village dealt with Awuru that same day. They found him in his forest hut and made him confess everything. Then they burned his hut, destroyed his tools, and chased him out of Ogbomoso forever. Mama Ayo never recovered her sanity. She would sit in the compound, talking to ghosts only she could see, crying and laughing and apologizing to the air. Kemi and Ayo sold everything that remained and gave the money to the families of the murder. It wasn't enough. It could never be enough. 3 years later, Mama Ayo died quietly in her sleep. They buried her far away from people she had killed. On her grave, they planted a single flower, not for honor, just to mark where she lay, to remind people what happens when you trade souls for wealth. Years later, people still tell the story of Mama Ayo in Ogbomoso. They tell it to children who dream too big, to young people who want shortcuts to success, to anyone who thinks wealth is worth any price. The farm where the ghost worked is still there in Ogbomoso, but nothing grows on it anymore. The soil is grey and dead. Even weeds refuse to grow there. People say that on quiet mornings, if you stand at the edge of that dead farm and listen carefully, you can hear the sound of hoes hitting the ground, the sound of ghost slaves working for a mistress who destroyed herself trying to escape poverty. Some shortcuts lead nowhere but destruction. Some wealth costs more than everything you have, and some secrets, when finally revealed, burn the whole world to ash. The end.
If you enjoyed this story and want more, please subscribe to this channel and click the bell icon for new video notifications. You can also check out some of the videos here. Thank you for watching. Remain blessed.